What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 76 of the College Loop Podcast. And back in the day, whenever I was just coming up with a player for these, it's very fitting today as number 76. We can also talk about Jeremiah Wright a little bit. And in fact, this is the offensive line preview of the position by position breakdown. And it's just me today in the studio, quote unquote. Everybody's got stuff to do. Daniel's at a Red Sox game. Colin is working, and Tarr is also working too. I was about to make a joke about him being the bacon mascot, but yeah, just me. And to start off, we are going to get right into the offensive line position, and starting from last year, this is a very weak position for this Auburn Tigers team, and they ranked 90th last year in sacks allowed with 32. And surprisingly enough, two of the offensive linemen from this team last year did get signed to teams, but that's strictly because of size and size alone. Looking into this season, it is hard for me to believe that the 2023 offensive line is going to be anything close to what we saw the last few seasons from this offensive line. Because it comes down to what the recruiting mantra that Hugh Freeze has been going into ever since he got to the Plains. And if you want to go through the 2023 recruiting class, I mean, you picked up 2 O-linemen right there, 4 O-linemen, 5 O-linemen. There we go. I can't count today. 5 O-linemen in high school / JUCO, and Connor Liu, the big 4-star center, Clay Whedon, 3-star interior offensive lineman. Sorry, acronyms are getting me today. Xavier Miller, offensive tackle, Braden Joyner, big guard from Auburn High, and Tyler Johnson, a tackle from Louisiana, another big 3-star there. And then the real meat and potatoes of this offensive line is all coming from the transfer portal. And, of course, the big gets are, of course, Avery Jones, who was the top-ranked offensive lineman in the class. If I'm remembering that correctly, he was either 1 or 2. And he's starting at center, and the offensive line starts there. And looking at Avery Jones and his potential to be and all this guy could be an award winner. That's how good he is. And if this Auburn offensive line pans out to be, as I've been saying, part of the best offensive line we've seen since 2017. Yeah, it starts with Avery Jones. And the guards are one thing. We don't know who's really going to start at the guard position. We have an idea of who it could be. But Avery Jones is solidifying that center position. And I think when he goes center 1 and center 2, I think it's the best tandem, one of the best tandems on this team that doesn't get talked about. Because you have Avery Jones, and then you have Connor Liu, who's backing him up, who, from all accounts, has been one of the best-looking true freshmen on the squad. And just to get into I'm just skip to the tackles. The guards are going to be a little bit more of a discussion because we don't really know who's going to start at guard quite yet. But a tackle that we have been constantly talking about throughout the entirety of this transfer class is Gunnar Britton, the big 6'6" tackle from Western Kentucky, who ranked as a top 3 tackle in the country per PFF. And like I've been saying, he's going to be playing right tackle. We thought he was going to be left tackle when he first got here, but he's moved to right tackle. And I think he was going to be the best player on this offensive line going into the next year. So much so that I think he's going to be a first-round pick in the 2024 draft, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if he won an award, and I'm going to knock on wood for that one. Just because these offensive line gets, especially just stopping at Avery Jones and Gunnar Britton, those are my two, keep an eye on them. Because Gunnar Britton is really good. He's a big, strong tackle who is great at pass blocking. And he did not give up a lot of sacks last year. And that's evident from the fact that Austin Reed, West Kentucky's quarterback, had a career season last year. It's probably the best transfer pickup that the Tigers have seen this offseason, just because Gunnar Britton is just that good. And to switch to the left tackle, I mean, you have a guy from Tulsa who's from Philip Montgomery's neck of the woods. Dylan Wade is playing left tackle, and good Lord, what a tandem these two big boys are. Dylan Wade, another big, powerful tackle who's going to be shutting down pass rushers. And it just speaks. This is a Hugh Freeze fan page, if I've ever seen one, just because this offensive line that he just brought in, especially these three that I've talked about thus far, are going to pay dividends to this upcoming season. And when you look at last season's offensive line, it was horrendous. It was terrible. It was bad. It was god awful. But if this offensive line doesn't live up to the expectations that I have, at least a very high expectation, if they can just be average, that's a pretty big incline from last season. And a couple of other guys that were brought in, Jaden Muskrat is a guard that was brought in, and I think that was pretty much it for the O-lineman. I don't see a lot of playing time for Muskrat except for like switching out different positions. But yeah, the offensive line for just those two right there, for those three right there, is huge. But to start with the guard position, I think the starters are going to be Jeremiah Wright, who, if you know who Jeremiah Wright is, he is a monster of a human being and was Auburn's best offensive lineman last season. And of course, starting, I think he's going to be a left guard, and then right guard, I think, is going to be Tate Johnson. I've been hearing the center from last season. And be honest with you, I don't know how I feel right now about Tate Johnson being a guard. I think he can do it. I've heard good things. I just want to see it in a game setting more than just practice. Because looking down the rest of it, you have Cameron Stutz, who's been trying to get some playing time. The backups for this offensive line are outstanding. But I believe the starting lineup for this offensive line is going to be Dylan Wade at left tackle, Jeremiah Wright at left guard, Avery Jones center, which the tackles in center are all like basically confirmed for week 1, and Tate Johnson at right guard, and Gunnar Britton at right tackle. And just to talk about them some more, I mean, this unit very much improved from last year. Very much improved from last season. And that's all 2023 can be, really, is when we get further into the position by position breakdown. I don't know what we're going to be doing next quite yet, but humongous amounts of improvement across the board, position to position. But the offensive line was the position that probably needed it the most. And with what Hugh Freeze has done, oh boy, has this offensive line gotten astoundingly better, especially on paper. On paper, I don't want to sound like I'm pumping too much, but on paper, this is the best offensive line Auburn has seen since 2017. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much that for the preview for that position. And maybe in the next show we can get the other guys' opinions on the offensive line as well. And to just talk about the future of Auburn, the 2024 recruiting class has moved up 18 spots in the last week. They were 47. They are now 29 in the class after getting 4 commits in the past week. And one guy's not on there. Shout out to my boy J.R. Buckner, number 1 long snapper in the country. He's not on 24/7. I just don't know if he's ranked yet, or if they don't rank long snappers. It's a bit weird if you ask me, because long snapper is one of the most underrated positions on the field at any given time. If they can't get it to the punter or the holder correctly, you're going to be down a few points. But yeah, just going through those. So we talked about in the last episode, Bryce Kane and Kinsley Foston both committing to the Tigers. And now we're talking about Joseph Phillips, big linebacker, 6'2", 250 pounds, committed to Auburn on Friday. And the kid's good. He is so good. Looking at last season, he had 75 tackles, 19 of those for loss, 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 1 defensive touchdown. Also, I believe plays a little tight end / wide receiver, probably a little tight end. 29 catches for 336 yards and 6 touchdowns as well for last season. But yeah, big bruising tackler. Is going to be an outside presence for the Auburn linebacker corps, and a huge picking him up over Georgia and Tennessee, who are also really trying to get Joseph Phillips from Tuskegee, Alabama. But again, just going into this class again, this has been an outstanding class thus far. And as the wise words of Trevon Reed once said, we are not finished yet, because there are a lot of other guys that Hugh Freeze is going after, and a lot of guys who are are currently committed to a couple of rivalries of Auburn. And I mean, Good Lord. Again, I say it. This is a Hugh Freeze fan base over here. Is just the recruiting has been outstanding thus far. But yeah, that's all pretty much for the football segment. Keep an eye out for the next show where we're going to be previewing Week 2's matchup for the Cal Golden Bears. And to do a little segment that I prepared a little bit. It's called Auburn Around the Globe. And this is going to be a one-time thing, I believe. Maybe not. It could be like a yearly thing, depending on how this ends up going. So, former Auburn quarterback Jeremy Johnson leads the Caudillos de Chihuahua to a championship title in the Liga de... good Lord, I've already butchered this. The Liga de Football Americano Profesional. So, yeah, he also won offensive MVP of the league as well for that league, the LFA, as it is formerly called. But, yeah, the undefeated season, number one offense, number one defense for the Caudillos. Jeremy Johnson was leading the helm and led them to a championship. He is going to be back. I believe he's already back, I believe, based on the interview he posted on his Instagram. He is going back to see his family and I believe getting ready for Montgomery Catholic's upcoming season as he is the running backs coach. And the last little Auburn Around the Globe news, former Auburn guard Bryce Brown wins the finals MVP as the King Wilkie Morski Stettin, and I definitely butchered that. Don't worry. That's not probably how it's said at all. As that team wins the Polish Basketball League for the first time ever. And Bryce Brown averaged 16.3 points per game while shooting 46.8 from the field, 42.5 from the three. And he also scored a game-high 24 points in Game 6. But yeah, just a little shout-out to all the Auburn athletes all around the place just doing what they do best, and that's winning. And Jeremy Johnson took the LFA by storm, just like Bryce Brown took the Polish Basketball League by storm as well. And it's no shocker that Bryce Brown was one of the best three-point shooters in that league as well. Now to get to our question, and again, might I add, Gregorio Duran with another banger of a question. And again, y'all got to start leaving more questions because Gregorio, if I had a tally mark on the screen of how many questions Gregorio is, it'd be through the roof. It'd be up here because Gregorio is just popping off with the questions. And his question for today is, with recruiting continuing to be pretty good within the three major sports, which team do y'all, in this case, just me, I'll make sure to ask the guys next time around. Don't worry, Gregorio. Which team do y'all think has the best chance of winning a natty first? And that's covering both football, basketball, and baseball. Yeah, and looking at it, I think the hardest sport to win a championship is basketball. I definitely think that's the hardest one. And I would like to think if the team is as talented as I think they can be, basketball could do it. Baseball, I'm not too sure of. Every year it's the same thing. It's like we don't know what this baseball team is going to be yet. I think it's a little too soon to call for baseball because we don't know how a couple of the guys are going to pan out. We don't know if Joseph Gonzalez is going to go for the draft or not. And a few guys around that horn as well are just it's a little tough right now to call it. And I'm hesitant to say football as well, just because I don't know. But I think 2024, we talked about the schedule last episode. I think football definitely could be closer to winning a championship. Well, I also think basketball, I think it's between basketball and football. And it comes down to the class for 2024 for basketball for me. And I think I'm going to go basketball here strictly because I think they have, or do I want to go football? This is a tough question. I really wish someone else was on the show to kind of help pivot this. But yeah, I'm going to go basketball. I think the recruiting has been pretty dang good. I think the 2024 class is going to be really good. And I know it's just a hot Pettifer right now, but expect a lot more to come. They always win the transfer portal. The transfer portal class right now has been awesome. If Auburn can put together a solid 2023-2024 campaign, I think they could be in the marking for it. I think football is going to need a couple years to really get settled. Yeah, I'm going to go basketball. I think basketball is the answer there. Baseball, I would love to say baseball. It's just so hard to depict where exactly they are going to be at any given time in any given season. But yeah, thank you, Gregorio, for that awesome question. Yet again, it never ceases to amaze me how you are always the one to give the questions to us. But yeah, if I had to pick one, basketball. And I think that'd probably be a unanimous selection from the rest of the guys as well. All right, now to kind of wrap up the show a little bit, going to talk about, wrong one. There we go. Baseball has picked up 2 more transfers for this upcoming season. Picked up the commitment of another, I think this is the 3rd in-state transfer, UAB designated hitter Christian Hall from, again, UAB. And to go through a stat line, he appeared in 53 games with 50 starts, all as the DH. Batted .370 with 70 hits, 40 RBIs, 11 homers, 9 doubles, and 2 triples in 2022. And, of course, he had 2 home runs against Auburn on April 5th. And I'm reading right off the UAB page if you want to talk about that. He also led the team in slugging with a 61% and an on-base percentage of 44. He also finished top 10 in the CUSA in batting average, at 3rd, slugging percentage at 7th, and on-base percentage at 8th. And he was named to CUSA 2nd team last season. But yeah, a huge pickup at DH. Finally, Nate LaRue is gone, and as great as he was towards the end of the season, it leaves room for Ike Irish to finally get on the field more. And that opens up another DH role, which I think Christian Hall is going to fill up pretty nicely. And I believe Cole Foster is going to be gone too, so that really helps with the Miami, Ohio shortstop that transferred to Auburn yesterday. Yesterday's has been recorded. 2 days ago, this is coming out. Cooper Weiss from, again, Miami of Ohio. He started 53 games for the Red Hawks, where he batted .303 with 12 home runs, 15 doubles, 46 RBI, 48 runs scored, and also had 17 stolen bases. He also won the MAC Defensive Player of the Year last season. So, yeah, 2 more big pickups for this 2024 season. There we go, 2024 team. And, I mean, Butch Thompson is recruiting at a high velocity right now, expecting a big high school class from him as well. And hopefully a lot of coming of age stories for these pitchers that needed a lot more experience than they did last year. So hopefully 2024 can start off and be more consistent than it was this past season. But yeah, it's a bit of a short one today. Not a lot going on. Just really talking about the offensive line. Keep an eye out for more Auburn recruits coming through. Apparently, Perry Thompson, 5-star wide receiver committed to Alabama, really enjoyed his visit to the Plains this past weekend. Or this past week, really. This past week. But yeah, and I mean, that's all I got today. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at your boy the Tank. That's at YABOY the Tank. And if you're watching, it's just like right there. It's also in the description below. And while you're scrolling down there, read the description. Leave a comment, leave a like, and leave a question for us. We love answering y'all's questions on the show. And if you want to follow us anywhere, you have us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Of course, you also have us here on YouTube, where again, like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell too. Why not? Do all the YouTuber stuff. And if you want to listen to us, you have us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And with all that being said, it's been the College Loop Podcast.